Olivia, I know you're not surprised by this conduct, but it's still shocking. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense. I would hope that something had changed, but as you're seeing, I mean, this is what it's like to work in a Trump White House, and it's really about him. I was shocked that they would have let Hope Hicks on to Air Force One. I mean, I feel bad for her. I hope that she is doing okay, but the exposure to the rest of the staff on that flight, much less the president, is just astonishing to me. And just like the lack of following the protocols to protect the commander in chief is just shocking. But then it isn't, because we're watching the rhetoric coming out of his briefings on how he's doing today. And quite frankly, I was actually of the belief that maybe this would also change the messaging coming out of the White House. But I just knew that they would find an opportunity here to change their message, to say, hey, COVID's not so bad. Look, I got it. Everything's great. I'm doing just fine. And that's just not reality.
You know, Olivia, when you see how many people have been sickened, you know, Chris Christie is in a hospital in New Jersey. He's got he's got asthma and he's hospitalized. He's receiving extraordinary care. I think we're all glad for that. We're glad for the president's extraordinary care. But to your point about how it's all about him, even his COVID experience is not one that he can share with a single human being. Nobody has been given the drug therapies he's been given. Nobody gets hospitalized, you know, the day they're infected unless they deteriorate dramatically and then have to call 911 because they can't breathe, which, if that's what happened to Donald Trump, that has not been shared with the public. What do you think about the tone he's already striking? That, you know, I feel 20 years younger. COVID's not so bad, guys. He seems like he could be more dangerous to people who still trust him, which is mercifully only 26% of the public.
That's exactly it. And this is a moment that is possibly even more dangerous than the rhetoric that he was already saying beforehand. And honestly, this was my greatest fear. It was my fear that he would use this as an opportunity to continue to downplay this pandemic that's already affected so many lives and cost us lives of loved ones and people. And it's frightening, but this is in line with who the president is. And I am not surprised. He's going to go back. I fear for the staff, the staff of the residents, all of these people that are going to be exposed. And I have no idea whether they will actually implement full PPE in the White House to protect these people. But this is just, I would say that it's unbelievable, but it's not, because this is who Trump really is. And he just doesn't care about anyone else but himself and the campaign and his messaging.
Olivia, I'm sure you saw Dr. Fauci said in an interview today that he has absolutely no role in the president's treatment in any. We just went through the timeline that's been assembled by the press. He's not been involved in any of the contact tracing or trying to prevent an outbreak, and it's sort of what he does. So just how broken is the task force if the task force isn't involved in the White House as a hotspot?
I think that shows you firsthand just how unfortunate the situation is right now. I mean, the president has these incredible experts who really know what they're truly doing. They've been doing this their entire careers at his disposal, and he hasn't called them. The fact that he hasn't called Dr. Fauci, I will tell you firsthand, Dr. Fauci was the first person I called when Katie Miller tested positive for COVID. I was scared. I was worried for my family. I exposed them. He was on my speed dial, and I was grateful. And I knew how lucky I was to have him on the line like that, because other Americans don't have that. And I just can't believe that the president just disregards it. I'm quite shocked, actually. I wonder if Dr. Conley or any of the medical staff there have leaned on these experts, because they are truly the ones that really understand, you know, how to counter this virus.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.